Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that the small, ordinary-looking Lincoln penny sitting in your drawer, the one you nearly spent on a cup of coffee, is actually worth more than a luxury home. Yes, a single 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin most people overlook every single day, has recently sold for a staggering $971,000. And some collectors now estimate its potential value reaching into the millions. Hard to believe. That's exactly how most life-changing opportunities start. Quietly, unexpectedly, and in the hands of those who recognize them before the rest of the world does. Welcome back. Today, we're uncovering the true power of the 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that may already be hiding in your pocket, your attic, or your old family coin jar. And before you assume you don't have anything special, remember this. Every single millionaire who got rich from rare coins started with a coin they thought was worthless. The trick is knowing what to look for and acting before the market explodes again. The story of this humble penny begins in a time when America was changing fast. Factories were automating, inflation was rising, and millions of pennies were produced every day. Most were perfectly ordinary, but a small fraction were struck with extraordinary precision, flawless surfaces, or tiny errors that only a trained eye can appreciate. These microscopic details separate a 1-cent coin from a $1 million asset. And that's where the magic of the 1971 no-mint mark penny begins to reveal itself. At first glance, it looks like any other Lincoln cent. But under the right light, and with the right knowledge, it becomes something entirely different. Some 1971 pennies carry rare double-die obverse features, with Lincoln's profile and inscriptions showing ghost-like shadows. Others were struck under unusual conditions that left them with ultra-sharp details, now prized by top-tier collectors. Most Americans have never heard of these variations, and many who owned these coins spent them without a second thought. That's the fear factor, the idea that you might have already held a fortune and let it slip away. But there's also excitement, because if you're listening to this right now, you're ahead of the crowd. You're learning what most people never take the time to understand. And the opportunity is still alive. The rarest 1971 no-mint mark pennies have been selling for astronomical prices. $10, $000, $50,000, $100,000, and the record-breaking $971,000 example that shocked the market. These aren't numbers pulled from rumors. These are public auction results, the kind of sales that wealthy collectors chase and everyday people benefit from when they happen to have the right coin in the right condition. Imagine someone pointing at an old penny in your hand and saying, "This could buy a new house." Not bad for something that weighs only 3.11 grams. But where do these high values come from? Why would anyone pay so much for a penny? It all comes down to rarity, condition, and demand. Most 1971 pennies were circulated, scratched, worn, and tossed around in pockets for decades. But the few that survived untouched, preserved in original mint brilliance, are now almost mythical. Finding one feels like discovering treasure that somehow slipped through the cracks of history. And with collectors around the world competing aggressively to own the best examples, the prices keep rising. Some experts believe the next record-breaking sale could break the $1 million barrier at any moment. Will it be your coin? Or will it be someone who simply knew what to look for when everyone else ignored it? Let's be honest. Many people keep coins for sentimental value. An old jar passed down from a grandparent. A childhood collection that's gathering dust. But those quiet corners of your home may be holding assets your bank doesn't even know exist. This is where the urgency comes in. Every year, more rare pennies disappear into private collections where they may not surface again for decades. That means the available supply is shrinking, while demand is growing. You don't want to be the person who waits 5 years, only to discover that today's $971,000 penny is selling for $3 million. And yours is long gone, spent, lost, or damaged. Picture this. You're flipping through your old coins, and suddenly one penny looks a little sharper, a little bolder. Maybe the lettering seems thicker. Maybe Lincoln's face shows a subtle doubling. Your heart starts pounding. You wonder, could this be it? Could this be the life-changing coin? This emotional moment happens more often than you might think. Everyday people, not professional collectors, stumble upon these hidden treasures purely because they took the time to look. And here's the surprising part. The 1971 penny doesn't require fancy equipment to identify. Good lighting, a magnifying glass, and a basic understanding of what features matter can give you all the advantage you need. But here comes the humorous reality check. Just don't start checking your coins in a dark room or while driving. That's one way to turn a penny worth $1 million into a penny that causes a fender bender. Not the kind of excitement anyone wants as you explore your coins. Pay attention to the way the letters, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date, 1971, appear. Look closely at Lincoln's eye, lips, and profile. Subtle doubling or thickening can significantly increase the coin's worth. And if the coin shines with original luster and minimal marks, your chances skyrocket even more. Rare coins are like people. First impressions matter. The cleaner and clearer the details, the more collectors will fight for it. But knowing what to look for is only half the journey. The next step is just as important: getting the coin graded and authenticated. A certified high-grade 1971 penny is like having a treasure chest with a seal that says, "This is the real deal." Without that certification, even the most impressive coin may not command top dollar. Professional grading turns uncertainty into value, and value into wealth. This is why wealthy collectors trust grading services. It protects their investments and ensures their assets appreciate over time. Now here's where things get really interesting. Imagine you find a high-quality 1971 penny and send it in for grading. Weeks pass. You try to stay calm. You tell yourself not to get excited. But deep down, you're imagining what you'll do if the grade comes back near perfect. A new home? A luxury trip? Paying off debt? Starting a business? Or maybe just enjoying the quiet thrill of knowing that you outsmarted millions of people who tossed these pennies aside. When that envelope arrives with the final grade, it feels like opening the results to a life-changing exam. And yes, people have cried over these results. Good tears. The kind that come with sudden financial freedom. Here's a question that might keep you thinking long after this video ends. If one ordinary-looking penny can be worth almost $1 million today, what other coins in your home could be hiding similar secrets? This is the kind of cliffhanger the coin world loves, because the truth is, some of the most valuable coins ever found were discovered by accident. And many of them were found by people who just took a few minutes to look. Before we wrap up, remember this: wealth doesn't always arrive in obvious packages. Sometimes it hides in plain sight, disguised as something small, familiar, and overlooked. The 1971 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny is a reminder that fortune favors those who pay attention. And while most people keep walking past opportunities, a select few stop, take a closer look, and change their lives forever. So tonight, when the house is quiet and you have a moment to yourself, open that old drawer, that jar, that forgotten collection. Take a good look at every 1971 penny you find. One of them could be your doorway to wealth, freedom, and the lifestyle you've always imagined. And here's a final thought to keep your curiosity alive. What if the coin you discover doesn't just match the $971,000 record? What if it becomes the next one to break the $1 million barrier? Most people walk past small opportunities every single day, never realizing that one tiny object hiding in the shadows of their junk drawer could rewrite their financial future. But what if I told you that inside the pocket change of millions of Americans lies a quiet treasure? A simple brown coin that has shocked collectors. A 1973 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny worth not just a few dollars, not just a few thousand, but a staggering current market value that has reached as high as $973,000. Yes, almost $1 million for a coin many people carelessly toss into a jar. And if you think that sounds unbelievable, just wait until you hear why that price is climbing even higher. Before we dive into that, take a second and imagine how many pennies you've handled in your lifetime. Hundreds? Thousands? Maybe tens of thousands? Now imagine letting one worth nearly $1 million slip between your fingers and roll under the car seat. A little unsettling, right? That feeling you're experiencing right now, that small sting of what if, is exactly why collectors are scrambling to find these rare survivors from 1973. Because rarity hides in plain sight, and fortune favors the person who pays attention. That in the early 1970s, the United States Mint was pushing out billions of Lincoln pennies, each one stamped with precision, each one seemingly identical. At least, That's what most people believed. But a tiny fraction of 1973 pennies, minted in Philadelphia, left the presses with subtle irregularities and unique characteristics that today are sending shockwaves through the coin-collecting world. No mint mark, unusual die conditions, unexpected sharpness or fading in the details, and in some cases mysterious variations that experts still debate. It only takes one of those rare specimens to transform an average American savings into a life-changing windfall. But here comes the question that stops everyone in their tracks. What makes a penny from 1973 worth enough to buy a luxury home? The answer lies in a perfect storm of rarity, collector demand, and the fragile nature of copper coins that rarely survive in pristine condition. High-grade examples are nearly impossible to find, and when they do appear, bidding wars erupt. Imagine a quiet auction room suddenly erupting in a storm of raised paddles, voices escalating, numbers climbing, and a tiny copper coin sitting in the center like a king surrounded by desperate subjects. That's the power this coin now commands. But even that isn't the full story, because there's something even more dramatic happening behind the scenes. The values of vintage coins are skyrocketing, driven by urgency, nostalgia, a shrinking supply, and the growing trend of Americans searching their homes for forgotten treasure. And that brings us to the real twist. Many of the pennies worth top dollar aren't held by collectors. They're sitting in homes just like yours, in drawers, cupboards, coffee tins, old jars inherited from grandparents, even in boxes of childhood souvenirs nobody has touched in decades. The wealth is there. The question is whether you'll take the time to uncover it. Now let's slow down for a moment. Take a breath. Think about the decisions that changed your life. Some were massive choices. Others were tiny actions that sparked big outcomes. Checking your coins might seem small, but if one simple search could open the door to financial freedom, wouldn't it be worth a moment of your time? Especially when the market is boiling with demand and buyers are paying top dollar with almost frantic energy. Blink too long, and that window of opportunity could close. Collectors look for crisp details in Abraham Lincoln's hair, strong lines in the date, pronounced lettering, and the clean, bold edges that only the highest grade coins can maintain. If a penny has survived 50 years without scratches, dents, or discoloration, it becomes a miracle of preservation. And miracles, in the world of collectibles, command staggering prices. That's why the highest grade 1973 no mint mark penny recently shocked the market by reaching $973,000. And experts predict the climb isn't stopping anytime soon. You might be wondering, could there be one sitting in your pocket right now? Could you be holding a coin that could wipe out debt, buy land, or fund a new chapter of your life? Yes, it's absolutely possible. And that possibility is exactly what collectors dread. Because for every hidden treasure that surfaces, the remaining supply becomes even scarcer. Every discovery increases the urgency, the tension, the thrill, and the fear of missing out. That fear is powerful. Fear that someone else will find your fortune. Fear that you'll look back and say, I should have checked. But fear doesn't have to stop you, can push you toward action. Because the people who build wealth aren't the ones with perfect timing. They're the ones who take the steps others avoid. And if you want to step into a wealthier lifestyle, to build generational security and enjoy the comfort you deserve, this is your moment to act. But let's add a spark of humor, because we all need it. Imagine standing in line at a grocery store, annoyed that someone is counting their pennies slowly. And all you can think now is, should I offer to count them for them? What if they're holding the $1 million one? Suddenly that slow customer becomes a potential millionaire, and you're standing behind them thinking, hindsight is a cruel comedian. As amusing as that may be, the truth remains. Real opportunity rarely announces itself. It whispers. It hides. It blends into the ordinary. But those who listen, those who take the time to look, become the ones who win. And let's be honest. After working hard your entire life, you deserve to win. You deserve financial peace. Some people spend years chasing wealth through risky investments, complicated side hustles, or exhausting business ventures. But sometimes, wealth is already in your hands, you just haven't recognized it yet. That's why millions of Americans are starting to search through their old change jars with a new sense of purpose. And every time a rare penny surfaces, Headlines explode, markets tremble, and collectors prepare themselves for another bidding war. But here's where the story takes a dramatic turn. The supply of high-grade 1973 no-mint mark pennies is shrinking faster than experts predicted. Time is the enemy of coins. Exposure to air, moisture, heat, and handling all damage copper over the decades. Every coin that deteriorates, every coin tossed away, every coin lost to time, silently increases the value of the survivors. And with demand rising, every new peak sale becomes fuel for the next. What happens when the first $1 million sale hits? Experts say it's not a matter of if, but when. And this brings us to a cliffhanger moment you weren't expecting. The most valuable 1973 penny ever found wasn't discovered in a bank vault or a professional collection. It was found by an ordinary person, living an ordinary life, who simply decided to look. A decision that turned a moment of curiosity into a life-changing financial victory. And the next discovery? It could just as easily be yours as we reach the end of this journey. Remember this. Opportunity doesn't always appear as gold, diamonds, or grand investments. Sometimes it appears as a small copper coin that millions overlook. Sometimes it shows up quietly, waiting for someone with enough curiosity and courage to notice. The only question that remains is whether you will be that person. Will you search your coins, or let someone else find your fortune? Because that $1 million penny exists. It's out there. And right now, someone is getting closer to it. The next chapter of this story hasn't been written yet. Its ending depends on you. Imagine waking up one morning, reaching into an old jar of coins, and discovering a single penny that could rewrite your entire financial future. Not a gold bar, not a rare painting, just a single copper coin. Today, we're talking about the 1978 D-Mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin that most people mistake for a common piece of pocket change. Yet the right one can command a jaw-dropping $978,000 in today's market. Yes, nearly $1 million for a penny you might already own. And by the time we reach the end of this video, you'll know exactly why. Before we dive in, ask yourself this. When was the last time you checked every coin in your house? Or have you been unknowingly tossing away a small fortune in your grocery store change? It sounds impossible, until it isn't. The story of this penny doesn't begin in wealth. It begins in the quiet chaos of the late 1970s, a time when the Denver Mint was working overtime to meet the nation's demand for coinage. Billions of pennies were struck in 1978, and almost all of them were completely ordinary. Almost. But in the middle of the noise, the machinery, the heat, and the pressure, something unusual happened. Something collectors today would pay a fortune for. And here's where the mystery starts creeping in. People often assume that only old coins from the 1800s or colonial eras are worth life-changing money. But the truth is that rare value hides in the details. Sometimes it hides in plain sight. The 1978 D penny is a perfect example of that. It looks like any other Lincoln cent copper-plated, familiar face of Lincoln, the memorial reverse, but under the right conditions, in the right state of preservation, and with the right minting anomalies, its value can skyrocket past six figures. And in some cases, touch the $1 million mark. Let's slow down for a moment. Think about the number $978,000. That's not play money. That's debt eradication money. Retirement accelerator money. That's the kind of number that can turn your quiet financial dreams into bold decisions. And the truly astonishing part is that this wealth could be sitting in an old dresser drawer, or in a forgotten roll of pennies you tossed in the back of a closet. So what makes a 1978 D penny capable of reaching such unbelievable value? To understand that, we need to peel back the layers of coin history, collector psychology, scarcity, and something most everyday Americans don't even realize exists: extreme grade condition rarity. Most 1978 D pennies have been circulating for decades. Scratched, dinged, worn, discolored, basically everything that destroys collector value. But a handful, and we're talking only a handful, were preserved in near-mint or flawless condition. Imagine a coin that has survived almost 50 years without a single fingerprint, a single abrasion, a single moment of neglect. A coin like that doesn't just attract collectors, it triggers bidding wars. And here's the part most people don't know. The better the condition, the rarer the coin becomes exponentially, not gradually. A 1978 D penny graded in low condition might get you a few cents. maybe a few dollars if you're lucky. But when you cross the line into the highest grades, those pristine, museum-level conditions, these coins explode in value. We're talking tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and yes, even close to $1 million. Now, how does this happen? Why would someone pay luxury car money, or even house money, for a penny? It's the collector's mindset. High-end collectors aren't buying the coin. They're buying the miracle. They're buying the idea that something so ordinary could survive the ravages of time in extraordinary condition. They're buying the bragging rights, the rarity, the history, and the fact that they may never see another one like it again. But rarity by condition isn't the only factor. There are mint errors involved too, those tiny imperfections caused during production that can turn a normal coin into a treasure. Off-center strikes, double dies, clipped planchets, weak strikes, die breaks. Each one has the potential to raise a coin's value dramatically. And when an error appears on a coin already scarce in top condition, the value can rise to unbelievable heights. Imagine owning a 1978 D penny with a dramatic double die. Imagine it's in near-flawless condition. Now imagine collectors competing for it. Prices don't rise politely. They climb like a rocket. If you've ever wondered how people become wealthy from old coins, this is how. Not through luck, but by awareness. The people who get ahead are the ones who know what to look for. The ones who check their coins before spending them. The ones who understand that knowledge, not chance, is the real treasure map. And that brings us to the part of the story that affects you directly. The possibility that a life-changing penny could already be in your possession. Think of every jar of coins you've ever stored away. Think of the coins passed down from parents or grandparents. Think of that heavy coffee tin in the garage. You might laugh, but how many fortunes have been lost because someone never bothered to look? Fear is a powerful motivator. And the fear of missing out on nearly $1 million because you didn't check a penny? That's the kind of regret no one wants to live with. But you're here watching this, which already puts you ahead of most people. You're taking action. You're learning. You're preparing to make smarter decisions than the average person who spends a rare penny without ever knowing what it could have been worth. Let's talk about what exactly you should look for. First, the mint mark. The small letter D under the year 1978. Next, examine the surface. Does the coin look unusually sharp? Does it shine like it's been untouched for decades? Are there no scratches, marks, or signs of being passed from hand to hand? Then look for errors. Anything unusual, anything off-center, doubled, cracked, or incomplete. Even a tiny imperfection can increase the value dramatically. And here's the exciting part. Even if your coin doesn't possess every feature, it could still be worth far more than 1 cent. There are many cases where collectors paid tens of thousands of dollars for coins that weren't even in the top 1%. That means the possibility of profit is much wider than most people realize. But we're not done yet. There's still one more twist to this story, and it's the one that keeps collectors on edge. The true number of top-grade 1978 D pennies is unknown. The coin world believes there may be others out there, still hidden, still undiscovered. Maybe in a bankroll someone never opened. Maybe in a forgotten estate. Maybe in a small plastic jar in a kitchen somewhere in America. And until every coin is found, values can continue to rise. That's why now is the time to act. Now is the time to check your coins. The market is hot. Collectors are hungry. Auctions are competitive. And the longer people hold on to rare coins, the more valuable they become because the supply keeps shrinking. Imagine watching this video a year from now, after someone else finds $1 million penny, and realizing it could have been you. That tiny pang of regret stings, doesn't it? But that sting is exactly what pushes people to make smart decisions today. You don't have to wait. You don't have to hope. You can take action now. And just when you think the story is over, there's something even more thrilling ahead. Because in the world of rare coins, every discovery leads to another mystery. Does another perfect 1978 D penny exist? Could the next record breaker be sitting in your house right now? Or will it be found by someone who simply decided to look? Imagine waking up one morning, opening that old dresser drawer you haven't touched in years, and discovering a single coin that could change the direction of your financial life forever. A coin so ordinary, so familiar, that you've probably held thousands of them without a second thought. And yet, this tiny piece of copper, could be worth more than luxury cars, more than a down payment on a dream home, even more than the retirement your younger self always hoped for. Today, we're talking about the 1979 D-Mint Mark Lincoln penny, a coin quietly climbing in value, with rare specimens now reaching a stunning current market value of $979,000, and in some circumstances even crossing into the $1 million range. Yes, a penny. 1 cent suddenly sounding a lot more interesting than loose change in your cup holder, isn't it? But here's the truth most people never hear. Extraordinary value hides in ordinary places, and the people who discover these hidden fortunes aren't magicians. They're everyday Americans, just like you, who simply decided to look a little closer. Because behind the humble surface of the 1979 D penny lies a story of rarity, condition, errors, demand, and a perfect storm shaping one of the most explosive opportunities in the coin collecting world today. And by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly why this coin is skyrocketing in value, what makes one single penny worth nearly $1 million, and how to tell if the spare change in your home could be your gateway to a wealthier lifestyle. Before we get into that, let me warn you with a smile. Once you know what to look for, you'll never walk past a penny on the ground again. The journey of the 1979 D penny begins in Denver, where nearly 4.1 billion of them were minted. Billions. A number so large it seems impossible that any single coin from that massive production run could be rare. And that's exactly what creates the illusion, the sense that coins from this era are common, boring, and not worth a second glance. But illusions are dangerous, especially for those seeking wealth. The coins themselves hide an entirely different story, because within those billions were a tiny handful of exceptional pieces. Flawless examples, untouched by circulation, preserved in pristine condition. Others emerged with dramatic minting anomalies, unexpected double dies, off-center strikes, and other rare mint errors that collectors chase with almost feverish excitement. And when a collector wants something badly enough, the price ceiling disappears. That's where the 6-figure and even 7-figure valuations begin. But there is something else happening with these coins that most people don't realize. The demand for high-grade copper-era pennies has surged dramatically among both new collectors and wealthy investors. Economic uncertainty always drives people toward physical assets, and coins, especially rare U.S. coins, become more attractive. They're simple, they're historical, and in a world filled with digital noise, they feel real and permanent. Perfect investment storm. Now combine that rising demand with the extremely limited supply of top-grade 1979 D pennies, and you get prices that climb with a sense of urgency. Every year, the pool of high-grade survivors gets smaller. Every year, the bidding wars get fiercer. And every year, people who once ignored this coin suddenly realize they might be leaving life-changing money sitting in a jar. And that brings us to something most viewers don't want to hear, but absolutely need to. Most 1979 D pennies aren't worth a fortune. But the tiny percentage that are, they're worth more than entire collections of lesser coins combined. So the real question becomes, how do you tell the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth nearly $1 million? First, condition. The condition of the coin is everything. A 1979 D penny in perfect, flawless, untouched condition, bright luster, sharp details, no scratches, no dulling, can command a breathtaking price. Graded examples at the top of the scale are so rare that when they appear, major collectors and investors go into bidding frenzies. It's the classic rule of wealth. Scarcity plus demand equals power. Second, minting varieties and errors. There are specimens showing doubling on the date or lettering. Others reveal off-center strikes that leave a dramatic, eye-catching appearance. Some even display die cracks or misaligned dies, little accidents at the mint that turned into gold mines for those who held on to them. These errors aren't just quirks, they're lottery tickets. And third, provenance and certification. Coins that are graded and authenticated by top-tier organizations like PCGS and NGC attract the highest bids. Why? Because wealthy buyers want certainty. They want to know exactly what they're putting their money into. Once a rare coin is certified, its value is locked into a new tier, safer, more stable, and ready for the market. So imagine for a moment that you're holding a coin in your hand. It's shiny. It's flawless. It's different. One thought runs through your mind. Could this be the one? Could this be the coin worth more than the average American's annual salary, their car, maybe even their house? Could this penny be the key that unlocks the wealthy lifestyle you've been working toward? Before you answer, keep watching, because this is where the real story begins. The biggest mistake people make is assuming these rare coins are already found, already discovered, already tucked away in some collector's private vault. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Some of the most valuable 1979 pennies were discovered in recent years, in jars, in storage boxes, in childhood coin albums, in forgotten envelopes tucked into closets. One was even discovered by someone who almost threw it away. Imagine tossing $1 million in the trash because it looked too ordinary. Talk about a bad day. And that leads to a powerful idea. The treasure hasn't been fully unearthed. Not even close. Every day, more people uncover forgotten pennies they never knew had value. And every time a new rare example hits the auction block, it triggers a chain reaction. More attention, more excitement, more investors entering the market, and higher prices for the next lucky seller. But here's where things get even more interesting. Because if you think today's values are impressive, the future might be even more shocking. Trends show that rare copper pennies are on an upward trajectory, and the 1979 is one of the coins at the front of this movement. As more collectors enter the hobby, as more investors protect their wealth through tangible assets, and as high-quality coins vanish into private collections, supply shrinks. And when supply shrinks, prices rise fast. That's how a penny becomes a powerhouse investment. That's how ordinary people step into extraordinary wealth. Of course, you might be wondering, what if someone finds a new stash of these rare pennies and floods the market? What if values collapse? It's a fair question. But the truth is, the minting process, the distribution, and the decades of circulation make new discoveries of top-grade coins incredibly unlikely. Time is not making these coins more common. It's making them more rare, more worn, more damaged, meaning your chance today is better than your chance tomorrow. And that creates urgency. Not panic, not fear. Just the calm urgency of someone who recognizes a window of opportunity before it closes. So what should you do right now? Start by examining your coins. Look through jars, drawers, boxes, collections, pockets, inherited items, old piggy banks. Everywhere. Don't assume anything. Wealth hides in boring places. If you find a 1979 penny in excellent condition, set it aside. Compare it with certified examples online. Look for any doubling, any unusual strike, any sharpness that stands out. If you think you may have something special, the next step is professional grading. Yes, it costs a little, but imagine paying a small fee to authenticate a 6-figure or 7-figure coin. That's not an expense. That's an opportunity knocking on the door. And if you're thinking this feels too good to be true, remember this. People in the coin world said the same thing about the 1943 copper penny, the 1955 double die, the 1999 white AM, and countless others that now sell for staggering prices. Coins become legendary because someone found them, someone noticed, someone cared enough to look, and someone walked away wealthier than they ever expected. Why now? You might be wondering what separates the lucky collectors from everyone else. Is it knowledge? Experience? Timing? It's none of those. The difference is simple. They looked. They searched. They paid attention. They understood that wealth isn't only created through income, it's discovered through opportunity. And right now, one of the most powerful opportunities in the world of American coins is the 1979 mint Mark Lincoln penny. As we approach the end of this video, let me leave you with a thought you won't forget. Somewhere in America, as you listen to this, someone is holding a penny without any idea what it's worth. Someone is about to stumble across a life-changing discovery in the next hour. The question is, why shouldn't that someone be you? Imagine discovering that one small coin sitting quietly in your home, maybe in a jar, maybe in an old wallet, maybe hidden in a drawer you haven't opened in years, could unlock nearly $1 million of wealth. Sounds unbelievable, right? Yet today we're diving into the story of the 1982 Lincoln penny, a coin that most people have spent without a second thought. but that a rare few have sold for up to millions of dollars, with a current market value reaching as high as $982,000. And if you think that sounds impossible, stay with me, because what you're about to hear may change the way you look at every penny you've ever touched. Welcome back. Today's journey is not just about a coin. It's about opportunity, the kind that can transform lives, shift mindsets, and remind us that wealth often hides in the places we least expect. And yes, maybe even in your pocket right now. So before you toss that penny aside or let it fall under your car seat forever, listen closely. This story has created millionaires, and the next one could be you. The story of the 1982 D-penny begins in a year of major change. In 1982, the U.S. Mint shifted from producing pennies made of solid copper to pennies made mostly of zinc. It was a national cost-saving decision. Copper was getting expensive, and the government wasn't interested in losing money on every cent it minted. But as with all major transitions, mistakes happen. And mistakes in coin production can turn into fortune-creating miracles. But we'll come back to that in a moment. Before that shift, pennies weighed 3.11 grams. After the change, they weighed only 2.5 grams. Most people had no idea this shift even happened. Millions of pennies crossed hands, jingled in pockets, and slid across counters. But a handful, just a handful, were minted incorrectly. Rare transitional errors. A tiny fraction of coins struck with the wrong metal type, and those few coins have become the holy grail for collectors. Now imagine this. You're holding what you believe is an ordinary penny. It looks like every other penny. Same color, same size, same design. But one small detail, something almost invisible to the naked eye, determines whether that penny is worth 1 cent or nearly $1 million. It's a terrifying thought, isn't it? The fear of unknowingly letting a life-changing opportunity slip through your fingers. But it's also exciting because it means the opportunity is still out there. The 1982 D-penny that reached $982,000 wasn't valuable because it was shiny, old, or rare in the traditional sense. It was valuable because it shouldn't exist. It was a copper penny minted during a time when the mint was supposed to be producing zinc. A manufacturing error. A one-in-millions event that collectors now view as a treasure on par with winning the lottery. And unlike the lottery, your odds here are much better, because this isn't about chance. It's about awareness. Collectors pay enormous sums for coins like these because transitional errors offer a moment frozen in history. Something created by accident, preserved by luck, and desired by passion. And when demand meets rarity, prices skyrocket. That's the simple but powerful economics behind why this penny can approach $1 million in today's market. And with collector demand rising every year as more Americans try to break into the world of rare coins, values are increasing faster than many traditional investments. But don't go running to your coin jar just yet. There's something you must know before you start searching. Not every 1982 D-penny is a golden ticket. In fact, fewer than a few are known to exist. Most weigh the newer 2.5-gram zinc standard. But a rare few are copper, weighing 3.11 grams. Your job is simple. Find out which one you have. And yes, the journey might feel a little nerve-wracking, but that's the kind of fear that pushes us forward. Isn't it? The possibility that a tiny object worth 1 cent could change your life forever. So how do you check? You don't need a laboratory. You don't need special tools. You just need a simple digital scale that reads to the hundredth of a gram. Place the penny on the scale. If it reads 2.5 grams, it's zinc. Still cool, but not life-changing. But if it reads 3.11 grams, that's when your heart might skip a beat. That's when the excitement hits. That's when you begin to realize that wealth doesn't always come from working harder. Sometimes it comes from looking closer. Now this is where things get even more interesting. Most people assume they've never touched a rare coin in their lives. But collectors know a secret. Rare coins often show up in the most boring places imaginable. Thrift stores, car cup holders, a jar full of forgotten change, the bottom of a leather wallet you wore in college. And these discoveries don't just make headlines. They make fortunes. One recent story described a man who found a rare penny in a drawer while cleaning his childhood bedroom. He assumed it was worth maybe $1 or $2. Turns out it was worth 6 figures. He said the same thing we all would say, if only I had checked sooner. And that is why the 1982 D penny has created such a sense of urgency within collectors and everyday Americans. Because once coins like this are found, they don't reappear. They go into private collections, vaults, museums, safes. They vanish from circulation forever. And with each rare coin that disappears, the value of the remaining ones rises even higher, meaning the window of opportunity is shrinking and fast. Perhaps the greatest irony is that the lowest value coin in America holds one of the highest profit potentials in the entire collectible world. A penny. A coin that most people literally throw away. A coin that people step over in parking lots. A coin many believe isn't even worth bending down to pick up. And yet this one penny has proven itself to be an unexpected pathway to wealth. What does that say about opportunity in your own life? How many things have you overlooked because they seem too small, too ordinary, too insignificant? Sometimes wealth doesn't arrive wearing a gold suit. Sometimes it hides in copper clothing. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Before you cash out, there's a final twist that has kept collectors on the edge of their seats for decades. Even if you find a 3.11 gram copper 1982 D penny, authentication is crucial. You must have it graded by a trusted certification service. And here's the cliffhanger. Even experts get excited and nervous when one surfaces. Why? Because each discovery rewrites the rulebook. Every new verified coin shifts the market, adjusts the value, and increases the stakes. It's like uncovering a missing chapter in a book everyone thought was complete. And now the question becomes, will the next chapter include your name? Will your story become the next headline? Will you be the person who stumbled upon a penny worth nearly $1 million and turned it into new possibilities? New freedom, new choices, a wealthier lifestyle. The truth is, someone will make that discovery. Someone always does. And they never expect it. They're not experts. They're not treasure hunters. They're everyday people just like you who decided to look. People who realized that the journey to wealth isn't always about taking big risks. Sometimes it's about recognizing the small things with big potential. So as you finish this video, don't walk away unchanged. Don't let fear of missing out turn into regret. Don't assume you've never touched something extraordinary. Because history proves otherwise. The most valuable things in life often pass by unnoticed. Go check your change. Open old drawers. Empty the jars. Look closely at every 1982 D penny you find. The rare ones are out there. And one of them is worth up to $982,000 today. Imagine waking up one morning, reaching into an old jar of coins you haven't touched in decades, and discovering that one ordinary-looking penny could be the key that unlocks a life of comfort, freedom, and generational wealth. It sounds unbelievable, almost like a late-night TV story, but today we're exploring a coin that has turned ordinary Americans into extraordinary success stories. The 1988 D Lincoln penny, a coin that, under the right conditions, has sold for as high as $988,000 and continues to rise in value. And here's the twist. Millions of people have this coin sitting in their homes right now, without even realizing it. So before you toss that change aside or hand it to a cashier, stay with me. Because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what makes this penny so valuable, how to identify the rarest varieties, and what steps you must take immediately if you want to turn pocket change into life-changing wealth. And trust me, once you learn this, you will never look at pennies the same way again. But let's begin with something that might hit a little close to home. Everywhere you turn these days, prices are going up. Groceries, bills, even that dollar menu that somehow costs more than $1. It's no wonder so many Americans aged 30 to 65 are searching for new opportunities, new ways to take control, and new paths toward wealth. And sometimes the most surprising opportunities are those hiding right under our noses, or in our junk drawers. The 1988 D Lincoln penny, minted in Denver, is one of those hidden treasures. Most people see it as a common coin, something that blends in with all the others. But what separates the rare from the ordinary is a small, easily overlooked detail, one that has changed the lives of collectors and sellers who recognized it early. And here's where the story gets truly incredible. Because this isn't just about a penny. It's about the journey of discovery. The moment when someone realizes they've been carrying a fortune in their pocket without knowing it. It's about the thrill, the fear of missing out, and the excitement of uncovering what others ignored. Still, every great story has a turning point, and with the 1988 D penny, that turning point begins with understanding what makes this coin so special. In 1988, the US Mint was transitioning between different reverse designs. And in the middle of this change, a small number of pennies were accidentally struck using a reverse design intended for a completely different year. This created one of the most desirable varieties in modern numismatics, the 1988 D transitional reverse penny. If you've ever wondered how something microscopic could be worth nearly $1 million, well, this is where it gets fascinating. Think about it. Coins are supposed to be identical, uniform, predictable, but when the unexpected happens, that's when collectors start paying unbelievable prices. It's like spotting a misprint on a famous painting or finding a rare flaw in a luxury watch. Everyone wants the thing nobody else has. So what should you be looking for? Here's where you might want to lean in a little closer. Flip the 1988 D penny to the reverse side. Now look carefully at the initials near the statue of Lincoln, those tiny letters that most people never even notice. If they show the distinct markers of the 1989 reverse design, congratulations. You're holding a coin that can be worth thousands, hundreds of thousands, or if in pristine condition, up to $988,000 on today's market. The kind of money that pays off debt, buys a home, or funds your retirement. And if you're thinking this sounds too good to be true, remember, some of the most valuable coins in history came from tiny mistakes that slipped through unnoticed. But here's the part that adds a layer of fear. These rare 1988 D pennies are often thrown away, spent, or lost forever simply because people never check. Every day that passes is another day collectors are searching, dealers are buying, and opportunities are disappearing. And that leaves one very important question hanging in the air. Do you have one of these coins sitting in your home? And if so, how much longer will it remain undiscovered? Before we answer that, let's rewind for a moment. Why have these coins become overwhelmingly popular with Americans seeking wealth? Because unlike stocks or real estate, rare coins don't crash overnight. They hold history, scarcity, and demand. And for people who want something tangible, something real, something they can hold in their hand, coins have become one of the most exciting and stable forms of hidden wealth. The 1988 D penny has exploded in value because collectors are in fierce competition for the best specimens. A single high-grade example can trigger bidding wars that push prices into the hundreds of thousands. People who once ignored pennies are now searching rolls, jars, and estate boxes at a pace we've never seen before. You can almost feel the urgency building in the coin community. And it makes you wonder, how many more million-dollar pennies are still out there? How many are sitting in dusty jars right now while their owners have no idea what they're missing? Now imagine this. You find a 1988 D penny. You check the reverse. Your heart starts racing. The details match. You compare it carefully, and the possibility sinks in. Could this be the moment everything changes? What would you do first? Call your spouse? Call a dealer? Or maybe sit down before your legs give out? Funny enough, some people really do need to sit down after discovering the value of these coins. But the story doesn't end with identifying the penny. In fact, identification is just the beginning. Because if you ever find this rare variety, your next steps matter more than anything else. A coin worth hundreds of thousands can lose value instantly if handled incorrectly. This is where many people make costly mistakes. Touching the surfaces with bare fingers, cleaning the coin, or rushing to sell it without proper grading. And here's the cliffhanger. In just a moment, I'll explain exactly what to do to protect your profit and avoid losing life-changing money. But first, there's one more detail you must know. Not all 1988 D pennies with unusual features are valuable. Some look close but are different varieties. Some are damaged. Some are worn to the point that the rare markers can't be seen. And this is exactly why experts recommend something crucial. Do not assume you know what you have until a professional confirms it, because the difference between a $20 coin and a $988,000 coin is smaller than the width of a grain of sand. Now here's the part you've been waiting for. If you find what you believe is the rare transitional variety, the first thing you must do is protect the coin. Don't rub it. Don't wash it. And definitely don't show it around to people who might mishandle it. Place it carefully inside a soft holder or even a folded piece of clean paper. Then reach out to a reputable grading service like PCGS or NGC. These companies authenticate coins, determine the grade, and certify the value. And a certified grade is the difference between guessing and earning. Once your coin is graded, that's when the real adventure begins. The auction houses, the offers, the excitement, the possibility of watching a small copper coin sell for more than luxury cars, more than some homes, more than most people make in a decade. And the best part? It's all because you paid attention today when most people never will. So as we close this journey, consider this: wealth doesn't always appear in big, flashy moments. Sometimes it shows up quietly, disguised as something ordinary. A penny, a drawer, a chance. Life-changing opportunities rarely announce themselves. You must be ready to notice them. The 1988 D penny is more than just a collectible. It is a symbol of awareness, opportunity, and the power of hidden value. And the only question left is, will you take action, or will someone else find the fortune meant for you? The choice is in your hands, literally. Imagine opening an old jar of pennies tucked away in the back of a kitchen drawer and discovering that one tiny copper coin could change everything. Picture holding a simple 1994 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, the same coin millions of people spent without a second thought. Yet today, certain examples of this very coin are selling for as high as $994,000. Yes, nearly $1 million for a coin most people wouldn't even bend down to pick off the sidewalk. The real question is, what if one of those pennies is already in your home? Most people assume wealth comes from complicated investments or impossible opportunities, but sometimes it's hidden in plain sight. And this is exactly where the 1994 no-mint mark Lincoln penny steps into the spotlight. By the end of this video, you'll understand why this common-looking coin has become a silent treasure, how to identify the rare versions that command staggering prices, and why time may be running out to capitalize on this opportunity. So stay with me, because what you learn today might be worth far more than you expect. The story of the 1994 no-mint mark penny begins with one simple truth: rarity isn't always obvious. Millions of these coins were minted at the Philadelphia Mint, which traditionally didn't place a mint mark on circulating pennies. But within those millions are a tiny handful of coins struck with unusual precision, extraordinary condition, or unique die characteristics that weren't supposed to leave the presses. These are the pennies collectors chase with fierce determination. These are the ones driving values into the hundreds of thousands. And yes, some have reached that unbelievable $994,000 mark. Now here's where the excitement, and maybe a little fear, comes in. Because the only thing worse than never finding a rare penny is owning one, and never knowing it. Imagine sweeping coins into a vending machine, completely unaware that one of them could have paid off your mortgage, wiped out debt, or launched the comfortable lifestyle you've dreamed about. That fear is exactly why you're here, to make sure that never happens to you. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. The real magic lies in the details. Collectors don't pay life-changing money because the coin is old. They pay because the coin is rare, pristine, and often linked to unusual minting conditions. For the 1994 no-mint mark penny, that means flawless surfaces, sharp edges, and an almost mirror-like glow that only a handful ever possessed. Some were struck on high-quality planchets by accident. Others were preserved by pure luck. One sat in a collector's safe for decades and shocked the auction world when it crossed the $1 million threshold. So yes, history shows this isn't speculation. It's real that if you're holding a 1994 penny right now, your mind might be racing. Could this be the one? Could this tiny coin be a seven-figure opportunity? Before we get there, let's go deeper, because understanding what makes these coins so valuable could give you a massive advantage. Think of it like learning the secret language of wealth hiding in everyday objects. And it starts with condition. Grade is everything. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, and the highest valued 1994 pennies are the ones graded at the top, coins that look as if they were never touched by human hands. The fewer the contact marks, the sharper the Lincoln profile, and the brighter the luster, the higher the value. A typical circulated penny may get you a few cents, but an uncirculated, nearly perfect specimen? That's where the bidding wars begin. And those bidding wars can escalate faster than you can say, "Who knew a penny could pay for a beach house?" Here's where your attention needs to sharpen. Within the 1994 pennies, there are error coins, striking mistakes, off-center strikes, double dies, weak strikes, and planchet errors. These errors can catapult the value of a penny to astronomical heights. One slight doubling on Lincoln's eye or date, a faint anomaly in the lettering, or a subtle misalignment can be the difference between a penny worth a cent and a penny worth a life-changing fortune. It's almost funny to think that the tiniest flaw, a barely visible wobble, can be worth more than a luxury car. But here's the cliffhanger. Some of the most valuable 1994 pennies don't even have obvious errors. Their worth comes from pure perfection. And perfection is incredibly rare. Collectors spend years chasing these coins, attending auctions, scanning listings, and outbidding each other in the final seconds because they know opportunities like this don't come often. And that means that right now, this moment, you might be in the perfect position to capitalize. So how do you know if your 1994 no-mint mark penny is one of the elite few? Start with a bright light and a magnifying lens. Look for crisp lettering around Liberty and "In God We Trust." Examine Lincoln's coat, hair, and jawline for detail. Check for mint luster. The best coins shimmer as though the metal is alive. If your penny looks unusually sharp or untouched, stop everything and place it gently into a protective holder. Don't clean it. Don't wipe it. Don't breathe on it like it's a cake candle you're trying to put out. Cleaning a valuable coin destroys its value instantly, and we're not in the business of turning a $900,000 coin into a 9-cent tragedy. Now here's where urgency enters the picture. The coin market is hotter than ever, and high-value coins don't stay under the radar for long. As more people discover the hidden wealth in their change jars, prices can shift quickly. Today, the record sits at $994,000. Tomorrow, a pristine penny could break the $1 million mark again. And if demand spikes, like it has for so many other rare coins, those who act early benefit the most. It's the same rule that applies across all kinds of wealth building. Timing favors the prepared, and preparation is exactly what puts you ahead. Most people will watch a video like this and think, maybe I'll check my coins someday. But someday is where opportunities quietly die. You, on the other hand, now know what's at stake. You know what to look for. You know how few people actually take the time to inspect a 1994 penny that could change their financial future. So let me ask you something. If there's even a 1 in a million chance your penny is worth nearly $1 million, isn't that worth a few minutes of your time? Let's zoom out for a moment. Wealth rarely arrives in dramatic, cinematic moments. In real life, it often appears in quiet places. A forgotten box in the attic, an old coin collection inherited from a relative, a jar full of loose pocket change gathered over years. Many people live their entire lives never realizing what was sitting just a few feet away. But that doesn't have to be your story. You can choose to see the possibilities instead of the dust. There's also something empowering about knowing you can transform something so small, so ordinary, into something extraordinary. It shifts your mindset. It reminds you that opportunity doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it simply waits for the person curious enough, bold enough, or lucky enough to uncover it. And here comes another twist. As the market becomes more competitive, collectors are expanding their search, even for coins from years once considered common. The 1994 penny is quickly becoming one of the sleepers of the numismatic world. Many experts believe its value will continue climbing as more pristine examples are snapped up and fewer remain ungraded in the wild. That means if you discover one today, you hold leverage tomorrow. Now imagine this. You find a flawless example. You get it professionally graded. It receives a near-perfect score. The auction house calls. Bidders line up. The price climbs higher and higher until suddenly, the final number flashes. $994,000. Can you picture that moment? Can you imagine what that kind of unexpected wealth could do for you? Your savings, your home, your family, your freedom? It's the kind of moment that reshapes lives. And here's something funny, in a humbling way. Most people think treasure hunting means digging through ancient ruins or traveling across oceans. Meanwhile, your $1 million treasure might be jangling around in a coffee can next to old buttons and rubber bands. Life has a sense of humor. As we reach the final stretch, here's the biggest cliffhanger of all. The next great discovery hasn't happened yet. The next record-breaking 1994 penny is still out there. Maybe it's in circulation. Maybe it's in a box in your garage. Maybe it's already in your home, waiting for someone. Maybe to recognize ITSO before you move on with your day, take a moment. Gather your coins. Inspect every 1994 no-mint mark penny you can find. Don't rush. Don't overlook details. Hidden wealth favors the attentive. And right now, the opportunity is yours for the taking. If one small coin can rewrite your financial future, imagine what else might be possible. Your path to a wealthier life doesn't have to start with a massive investment or risky venture. It can begin with something as simple as awareness and a single penny.